A social work assessment is a report written by a social worker evaluating a client's educational, mental health, substance abuse, or occupational needs. You will need to interview the client and other significant parties knowledgeable about the client's background and current needs. The final written report includes goals the client should complete to resolve his or her problem and the treatment or assistance the social worker recommends to help the client accomplish these goals. Schedule interviews. Most of the information that a social worker incorporates into a social work assessment comes from direct reports from all parties involved with a case. Begin by interviewing the person who is seeking services. If possible, interview family members, former caseworkers, physicians, teachers, and other people who can inform you of your client's situation. Review documents. You can add to your information by consulting important documents. These might include psychiatric, educational, vocational or medical tests as well as agency records. Keep a record of all sources used for your assessment. In the assessment you will want to record who you interviewed, any incidents you were able to observe, and any documents you consulted. Interview clients in a safe atmosphere. The most important part of the assessment process is creating a rapport with your client and other interviewees that would encourage them to divulge information honestly. Focus on obtaining information about the client's needs and the resources that would help fulfill those needs. Create a safe atmosphere when conducting interviews by explaining the rules of confidentiality to the interviewees. In general, all information obtained in the interview will remain a part of the report and that you will not share the information with people who are not involved with the case. To elicit positive responses, focus on finding the strengths of the client. Do not apportion blame. Negotiate with the client over a mutually agreed assessment. 3. When you encounter resistance, be optimistic so as not to discourage your client. Continue to be polite, punctual, and attentive. Refrain from using jargon. Ask open-ended questions. These require the person to respond with detailed answers. Questions requiring only a yes or no answer will not produce enough information for you to write an assessment that can be used to set goals and determine a treatment plan. For example, instead of asking if the client is angry with another individual, ask them to explain how they feel about them. Have an assessment form on hand during your interviews. Assessment forms include specific questions. Using an assessment form will help focus your interview and allow you to take thorough notes. Many facilities have their own assessment forms available for the interview process. Recognize the flexibility of the writing process. There is not necessarily a single way to write an assessment. This can cause trepidation because you will need to find your own voice, but it does allow you to write the report as you think is best for your particular case. 5. Include as much information as possible. Describe the client's personal appearance, whether or not the client was appropriately dressed for the weather on the day of the interview, the client's personal hygiene, ability to maintain eye contact, and the client's mental orientation, awareness of person, place, time and event. Many facilities have standardized forms that direct you to describe specific questions about the client. One example of categories for an assessment include presenting problem, problem history, personal history, substance abuse history, family history, employment and education, and summary treatment and recommendations. 6. Another example of such categories include identifying information, referral, presenting problem, sources of data, general description of client, family composition and background, educational background, employment and vocational skills, religious involvement, health conditions, psychological background, social, community, and recreation activities, basic life necessities, legal concerns, client strengths, clinical summary, and goals and recommendations. Ascertain the problem. The most basic function of the assessment is to determine what the social worker is trying to accomplish with the client. Reports are often written in a narrative form that tells the story of the client's current problems and how and when those problems initially appeared. It is important to do this in a way that would not offend the client. It is often best to refrain from using technical diagnoses, like borderline personality disorder. These can offend the client.